100 years ago, a nation was intended to be destroyed systematically. Some from this nation, resistance against this fascism, intended to exterminate them and survived. Armenians' resistance against the death decrees announced for them by the rulers. This resistance became the cry of these people. 100 years later, today, the resistance of us in Camp Armen, which is founded by Armenian children who survived the genocide, has reached its 40th day. 40 days ago, we stood against the demolishers intending to destroy this place constructed with the work of over 1,500 Armenian children, and we stopped them. We did not allow them to destroy our camp. The Tuzla Armenian orphanage was built in 1960s in the shadow of the post-genocide shadow of never-ending hateful politics. It was built against all odds, without the support of the government and with the labor of the children. In the aftermath of 1980 coup d'etat, the founder and the supervisor of the camp, clergyman Hrant Güzelyan, was accused of raising Armenian militants and became the victim of torture and then had the land usurped from him. Now they are destroying this camp, which they previously pronounced guilty. This orphanage produced life and hope for those impoverished children who were born and raised in geographical land of where the genocide took place. The children who lived here were in large part coming from families who lived through or witnessed the genocide. It is the tradition of to stand against and take responsibility of the past and of history, despite all measures taken by the state and public institutions that have sought to distract and to deny massacres, the murders, the threats, and the hateful politics that have been spread in the past. Despite the destruction of the genocide, the collective effort of 1,500 Armenian children who were dealing with the loss made history by living together and by not losing their faith. This area, which faces being demolished to build luxury villas, marks the history of orphan children who still had hope despite their suffering. This space that they are trying to destroy represents where hope and the fight to continue to live together as one of the most ancient peoples of this land continue. Moreover, we here today in this historical building and also want to recognize the other losses that have taken place on these lands, such as the labor deaths from the Tuzla shipyards, the poverty that comes with deindustrialization, the spiral that is poverty, unemployment, cheap labor from pushing out labor outside the city, the massacres of forests and animals, the happening of allocating the city's coastline for profit, and the plundering of neighborhoods due to the urban renewal, resulting in displacement and forced migration. We urge you to stand together and join the efforts and to witness the battle for hope in testimony for the history, the pain and the history of loss for Camp Armen. Because Camp Armen has been entrusted to us from the Armenian genocide and from Armenian children, because Camp Armen is all our history and represents the common history of all peoples in this land, and serves as the hope for giving life to its memory. The genocide was the result of systematic planning from the part of the government and the organized relocations, as well as the preceding isolation spread effectively in a policy for extermination. The decimation of millions of Armenians in 1915 is the biggest wound in this land. The genocide is not limited to physical destruction of a previously existing presence. Also includes the societal, cultural, and spatial affiliation of these people. The genocide is the common history and destruction of everyone's experience in an effort to destroy the past altogether. The attempt to demolish Camp Armen is the most effective evidence that shows that the genocide in Turkey is not done. In fact, it shows quite the opposite, that the politics of annihilation is violently continuing. The murder of Hrant Dink from the part of the state, the protection of murderers who did not face trial, the murder of Sevak Balıkçı in April 24 of 2011 when serving his mandatory military service, the homicide of Maritza Küçük, the victimized Armenian population throughout Turkey by the state itself, and official institutions, the isolation and the countless injury, fear, intimidation, threats, and oppression that continue, all serve as proof that genocide is continuing. We call out to Armenians and all our friends of the Armenian people to take responsibility of Camp Armen and say never again, for the camp represents what began in 1915 and continues today, but through more efficient ways, through denial and exclusion of Armenians and other populations by means of policies of intimidation and destruction. Camp Armen is entrusted in us from our orphans, from our brothers and sisters who took refuge in the shade of the trees they planted, from Hrant Dink and from all slain Armenians. Camp Armen is venue to foster hope, unity and fraternity despite all our losses. We call on everyone to take on the entrusted responsibility that is Camp Armen, which represents our common past, future and our fight to coexist. Camp Armen is the land of the hope we try to raise against losses, our common history, and most definitely is the land of our together and shared peaceful future. Camp Armen is the peace cry of Hrant Dink. We call everyone who supports of our resistance to lay claim on Camp Armen and organize demonstrations everywhere throughout the world and increase the voice of our struggle at streets, work, homes, squares, and wherever you are. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, and don't give up the fight. Nor Zartonk.